All right, church family. So we had a interesting question from a friend and brother of Christ of mine named Brother George that deals with Psalm chapter 82. And so we're going to look at Psalm 82. We're going to break it down, and we're using the Blue Letter Bible. And we're going to do this step by step to show what are the steps that are taken in order to answer tricky or difficult questions about the Bible. In Psalm 82, we hear a statement that God is calling men gods. This statement has created a lot of influence throughout the generations, even to this very day. There's large portions of people whose religious belief is based around this statement. And the idea is that, in essence, God created us from his own nature, and we partake of his nature. So as God is God, we are also gods. And it's based on Psalm 82. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at this chapter verse by verse and just see what the text says. So Psalm 82:1, a psalm of Asaph. Asaph was a priest of God. He is one of the writers of the book of Psalms, along with King David. It says, God stands in the congregation of the mighty. He judges among the gods. And we're just going to break this down word for word. Notice it's talking about God, and it says that he stands in the congregation of the mighty. It's referencing people, and it's describing them as being mighty. But it's also pointing to the fact that God's presence is standing there among them. And it says he judges among the gods. Here's where we have to look beyond the English to the original language. So we know that the Old Testament was written in Hebrew and Aramaic. Small portions were in Aramaic. And then the New Testament was written in Greek. There are certain words within the Hebrew that can be translated in various ways. And so to know the meaning of a word with precision, we got to look back to the original text. And so the word gods comes from the Hebrew word Elohim, which at its root means mighty ones. The word Elohim has been ascribed to both humans and to God, because in context, when it says the mighty ones, it's referring to a ruler or a judge. And so God is the Elohim. He is the mighty one. He is the ultimate judge. The word Elo and then Him puts it in the plural. That plural, we can go a lot of ways with that. In studying Hebrew in seminary, there's a lot to be said why certain terms, certain nouns are placed in the plural and then applied to people. So God stands in the congregation of the mighty. He judges among the judges. He judges among the Elohim. He judges among the mighty ones. The King James chose to translate it as God. If you look at other texts, you'll see that some translations translate it as judge, some translations translate it as mighty ones. When it says gods, it's not referring to a deity. It's referring to someone of power who has the capacity to judge. There are people that were on this earth who, because of their positions of power, because of their position as judge, thought that they themselves had no accountability. They were at the top of the pecking order. What God is demonstrating in this psalm is that ultimately he is the highest Elohim. He is the God of gods. He's the mighty one that rules over the mighty ones that are here on earth. And that he is the judge of the judges. And that's why Psalm 82 verse 2 says, how long will you, referring above to the Elohim, judge unjustly and show partiality to the wicked? This is the context of the Psalms. God is holding corrupt judges accountable because in their judgment and in their power, they were showing partiality to the wicked. And so a question is asked of them, how long are you going to continue doing what you're doing? Call to repentance is given to remove from the corrupt ways into a way of purity. And it says in verse 3, defend the poor and fatherless, do justice to the afflicted and needy. Again, who's it talking to? The congregation of the mighty, to those who were judges. They needed to stop showing partiality to the wicked. They needed to deliver the poor and needy and to free them from the hand of the wicked rather than showing partiality to the wicked. It says they do not know, nor do they understand. And all of their power that they exercised, there was complete darkness spiritually. And they had no understanding or knowledge of what they were actually doing. It says all the foundations of the earth are unstable. Psalm 82:6, I said you are gods, and all of you are children of the Most High, but you shall die like men and fall like one of the princes. Again, the word gods here is translated from the Hebrew word Elohim. God is the one that appointed them to these positions of power. He's the one that appointed them as judges. We can reference back to the book of Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, where God declared the role and position of certain of his children who were among the children of Israel. He declared it, that they were Elohim, that they were the mighty ones, that they were meant to be judges, and all of you are the children of the Most High. But in spite of the calling and the placement that he had given, it says, you shall die like men and fall like one of the princes or rulers. It closes in verse 8 and it says, arise, O God, judge the earth, for you shall inherit all nations. And so the final appeal in Psalm 82:8 is for God to take the place of judge rather than man. And ultimately, as we see, he will, because God alone will be the inheritor of the nations as Christ comes to rule and to reign. Psalms 82:8. What we take away is, in reading an English translation, we don't want to interpret certain words simply at face value, because there's a multitude of meaning in certain words. And so digging below the surface, we see the original text. And in the original text, it gives us a precision of meaning to what these words are actually saying. Look forward to answering more questions from you, Bible family. Let's do it.